Hello there, friends. It's Mr. E here. And do you want to get rich quick? Because I've actually got some tips for you here. Now, this isn't financial advice, though, so you can't sue me. And it's not a multi-level marketing pyramid scheme. And I don't need the 3 digits in the back of your mom's credit card, but I do need to catch your number. So, yeah, let's talk today about how to get rich in Darktide, which means getting crafting resources. That is being rich in Darktide. And it looks like I got a lot here, but I have not too many of these milk bucks here. I need to address that. Why do we need crafting resources? Well, dear viewer, it's to craft up all your weapons, to get the perfect rolls, and to get the right gear for your new class, the Skitarii that's coming out, or whatever other classes you don't have max leveled. Now, I have a fuck ton of resources, but I don't have that much by some people's standards, and a lot of this has been pissed away crafting weapons for me to salvage if you're making YouTube videos. But I also have 3,500 hours in this game, so my guess is most of you have far less than that, and even people that have hundreds of hours are still struggling to keep their resources balanced correctly, especially if you don't play certain difficulties. So today what I want to do is I want to break down every source of these crafting resources in the game, which ones you should be prioritizing so that you can get the most bang for your buck, basically, or the most bucks for your bang. That actually sounds bad, but yeah, to get the most resources per time unit invested so that you aren't just wasting your hours trying to grind out something that's not going to be productive. So let's start with the basics here, right? These 3 currencies, I call these dollar dues, I call these milk bucks, this is plasteel and this is diamantine, they don't give funny names. But these 3, the gold one, the dollar dues, the plasteel and diamantine, these come from just playing regular missions. And more importantly, they come from events. And this is the first one I want to talk about because events are time limited. So for instance, right now there is an event. If you go to this guy and then you go to events right here, you can see if there's any active events, and this one is active, Dark Rites. And you can see you'll get these rewards for progressing the tracker here. Now this amount here, to put it in perspective, if you haven't played that much yet or you haven't played in a while, this is a lot. This is a lot. Maybe not so much of the ordo dockets because that goes pretty fast, but this is a fuck ton of diamantine and a pretty good amount of plasteel as well. But that diamantine, this resource here is very important for newer players. So definitely if you're a newer player or you got a new account because you got banned in your other one, definitely grab as much of this as you can from these events, because diamantine, if we look at the missions, when we are at the mission board here, diamantine is not really available on the lower difficulties. Like these 3 difficulties, I don't think you'll see any diamantine on the lowest 2. You might start to see it on heresy, but then the vast majority of the diamantine you'll get is from playing the highest 2 difficulties. So if you're not capable of playing those difficulties just yet, if you're still leveling and stuff, you're really not going to have much of it to go around. And that sucks because you need it to craft your higher tier weapons. And yeah, so diamantine can be kind of a gatekeeper. Thankfully, getting a 12,000 boost of it from playing an event for a couple of missions is very, very easy to do. So definitely tune in and just play a couple of event missions whenever those are available. So that's the first and easiest tip. Now, other than that though, of course, just playing regular missions is also on the table. So when you're at the mission board here, as I just said, playing higher tier missions will get you more resources. Note that just because these higher tier missions are going to give you more diamantine does not mean that like the ratio is lower, you will get less plasteel. You will get more resources overall by playing on the higher difficulties than you will by playing on the lower ones. So there's no gimmick there. And so you have to kind of find a break-even point. If you play these higher difficulties but you lose a lot of games, you're not going to get as much crafting mats because you lose, I want to say like 75% or maybe just half of the mats that you would collect when you lose a mission. So definitely worth it to play the higher difficulties, but you got to make certain that you are capable of winning them so you can bring home the actual goods. Now, when you are queuing for these though, there's a way to get even more juice out of it. Well, there's a couple ways. The first way is by playing quick play. So you can see here, there's a bonus for playing quick play. You get 20% extra experience, but you also get 10% extra of those crafting mats. So whenever possible, I like to play quick play because it's going to give you 10% extra, and that will add up over time. Another thing that can really add up over time is your curios. So when you have curios on your character, which you'll unlock as you progress through the game, these curios have this little perk set down here. And orange curios can have 3 of these perks. Now, these perks can only be one at a time, but one of these perks down here is ordo dockets. So if you are in need of some of the dollar redos, that's ordo dockets by the way, the gold coins, these right here. If you're in need of these, then you can roll 3 of these on 3 curios, and then you'll get 30% from this, plus you'll have another 10% from the quick play. So you'll be getting 40% extra dollar dues, and this is honestly one of the more important currencies for newer characters, because this is how you purchase from the shop right over here. So this shop, let me run over there. I'm certain I have a hotkey for it, but I can't remember what it is. So this shop right here, this is where you will spend the vast majority of that currency, because not only can you roll weapons and curios directly from the sky for those dollary dues, but also if you are looking to craft endgame perfect gear, you'll likely need to go into his armory here and roll a bunch of one type of weapon until you get the perfect one. And so for instance, say I wanted to roll, I don't know, a heavy sword here, and I wanted it to be perfect and have 60 in, let's say, defenses. Look how long it's going to take me to get this. And watch my dollars amount, right? And what are we, 6, 7, 8? Oh, shit. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12... Oh, am I out of money? 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. That sword had 1% damage. Did you see that? 18, 19. You get the point, right? So you can get an unlucky chain here and buy 20 of these weapons and never get the roll you wanted. But this is basically how you have to do it. And every one of those is costing me 10,000 bucks. So very quickly, you're going to go through that resource if you are not stockpiling it. And yeah, that is unfortunate, but that's the reality of crafting multiple weapons. So be careful about investing too much in that and getting too carried away with the gambling. So now we've talked about how to get these on a baseline, very, very easy, straightforward ways. Obviously, play games, play quick play, slap extra ordo dockets on your curios. I'm enumerating these on the side of the screen. This is a reminder to me as much as it is to you that they're on the side of the screen. And then the other ways we can do this, by the way, is there's some extra resources you can get in the game. So let me cut over and show you in the game one of these awesome ways you can get extra resources. All right, so look at this. And more importantly, listen to this. Like, listen very carefully right now. I'll be quiet for a second. Do you hear that in your left ear? There's a whispering noise, and that whispering noise is that right there. Hopefully I can free cam and get myself over there. That will kill me if I do that, won't it? Yeah, I think it will. I don't think I have the capability of doing that in here. But anyway, yeah, that's one of these. These little totems, these are hidden around the maps. There's 4 of them on each map, and they make this kind of hissing noise. If you shoot them, okay, well, in third person it's kind of weird, but there you go. So if you shoot them, you'll get extra plasteel. Now, I'm playing in the lowest difficulty right now, and I'm also hovering in the air and jittering like a crazy person, but this will scale up when you play on higher difficulties. So the highest difficulties will give you 50 per one of these totems you destroy, and that means with 4 of them, that's 200 extra plasteel per game, which in a high difficulty game, you'll get about 500 or so plasteel and 200 or so diamantine if you are collecting every single resource node you can find in the entire game. So obviously be opening containers and all that stuff too, but also be keeping an ear and an eye out for those totems. Also in missions, which I am not probably going to be including too much footage of because I find them kind of annoying, but there are optional challenges. I call them challenge skulls. I think they're called martyr skulls, but those martyr skulls are one-time unlockables that if you do the little goal, like solving a small puzzle or cooperating with a teammate to unlock a gate, you will get to collect a martyr skull, and those reward a good lump of, I think it's like 100 or 200 plasteel for getting them. So if you haven't yet got it on your character, it's per character. You can get that resource. If someone else on your team hasn't gotten it and you can unlock it for them, then you will get 50. You'll get half that amount or whatever it is. So yeah, that's a pretty nice way to get a little bit extra, but that is not going to be available forever. The vastly more important thing here is to be looking for those little totems and destroying those around the level. Those were added to the game specifically to combat the fact that players weren't having enough plasteel. Because even though plasteel is the more common crafting currency, it also ends up being the more important crafting currency because you need way more of it to do all sorts of crafting. So that's the basic stuff, but now let's go beyond that. Let's go and talk about some ways that many players don't think about that they might just be sleeping on. And the first of those is to craft or scrap your spare weapons. Now, I am really bad about this, but you know, when you accomplish a game, when you beat a game, depending on the difficulty you play at, you'll get given a weapon or a curio in return. And so you can see here, look at all these weapons. I didn't buy these weapons. They have just been put into my inventory. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to scrap these, and we're going to see exactly what we get in return. So what you'll want to do is whenever you have a weapon that you're actually using, favorite it. And that way, when you go to discard items, you can simply hit select all, click all these, and then you'll hit select, and then favorited items won't be salvaged. I got 109 items here. Let's discard them. Confirm. Let's see what we get. There we go. So we got ourselves 5,500 plasteel, a little over 300,000 ordo dockets, and then 1,000 or so diamantine. A really good haul. Great way you can re-up and fill back up your coffers of those ordo dockets if you are being diligent about your inventory management. And that was just for melee weapons, by the way. I've also got that for range weapons. So maybe I should do that over here. Just to, you know what? I'm going to use this video here to clean up my inventory, and you guys will get to watch. Isn't that thrilling content? So let's do the same thing here. I have way less of these. I must have done this at some point in the past. So there you go. Got myself, oh, but I still have, oh, wow, way more. So range weapons are more expensive somehow. I had a ton of money there. So now I'm even richer. Awesome. And I can do that across all my characters. So if you're playing for a while and you haven't checked your inventory, you might actually be sitting on a gold mine there. And then we have to talk about the #1 way that I have become rich, you know, after the point where I stopped using any currency at all, really. And that is through Havoc, which is right here. So Havoc is, of course, only unlocked once you've reached a maximum character level and once you have beaten at least one Maelstrom mission. But as soon as you can, get yourself into Havoc. And once per week, play the highest possible Havoc you can. So look at this. This is my Havoc reward for the week of playing. It happens on Sundays at like 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, so that's when your reset is. I played literally one game of Havoc this week. It was a Havoc 40, the highest possible rank. I beat it. There you go. This is my reward for beating it. 35,100 plasteel, $137,000 dues, and 23,000 diamantine. That is a ton of crafting mats. So much so, many players that are playing Havoc don't really need it, but if you're a new player and you can get into this game mode and play it, you'll get a big, big reward. So even if you can only play and beat like a level 20, beat whatever the highest possible level you can of Havoc every week. At least one game per week. Even if you don't love playing it and it's too difficult or whatever, play and beat one Havoc. That way you can get that reward chest at the end of the week, because it will add up over time. Like, that is a huge, huge lump sum. That is more than enough to craft, you know, a couple weapons into absolute god tier. And, you know, at least the $1 dues recouped what I lost trying to roll for that stupid heavy sword a second ago. So that's the last way there, as far as those crafting mats. Now, there is one other sort of crafting resource in the game. I guess it's not really a crafting resource, but I call it milk bucks. These things right here. So these milk bucks only come from doing weekly contracts with milk, and I call them Melkies. So the Melkies are rolled per character, and you have to complete whatever the thing is listed here in order to get that reward. If you complete all five of them, you'll get an extra 1,000. So you have to kind of figure, like, okay, how easy are these to do? Now, when I look at this, 8 missions, completing 8 missions is pretty easy, but it takes a long time, and I got a lot of characters to do. So, killing 6 monstrosities, very easy. I might be able to accomplish that in 1 or 2 games, maybe even 1 game if I'm playing on Havoc. 400 plasteel and 350 diamantine, super, super easy. You can accomplish that in about 2 games. But out of these, 3 missions with no player deaths, maybe not, but 8 missions, that's too many missions. I don't want to play that long. 16 grimoires and scriptures, that's no one has ever done that in their life, so we're going to re-roll that. 1,000 scabs in melee, that's a lot of enemies. 750 dregs, okay, so that's a more common enemy type, and, you know, the killing them with melee, not half bad, right? So I'm going to leave that there, and we'll see. Maybe I'll accomplish this by the end of the week, maybe not. But, you know, things like this, where you can get 700 of these for just, you know, getting 350 diamantine, no brainer, easy. And then I'll just play some easy missions really quickly to knock out this 3 missions with no player deaths. Very, very simple. Now, what do you do with this? Why would you want these currencies? Well, you can go into limited time acquisitions. And this is another great way to get some weapons that are pretty dang powerful. right off the bat in the game, like pretty early on, you can unlock these weapons and they can have blessings on them that you don't have unlocked yet. So like, for instance, you might not have the masteries to have execution and lethal proximity on your bolt pistol, but you can just come in here and buy this one, and then there you go, right? That'll get you all set up. You can also look in here for curios, although I've very rarely found any good curios in here, and these only rotate once per day. So check in here. On occasion, you'll find one that's pretty good, but they're never going to be as good as a perfect craft. However, this resource here is not used for anything else except this and mystery acquisitions. And this is the thing that I farm these for. So these are the one way that you can get curios without waiting. So curios can only come from two other sources. You can get curios in the game from playing games and randomly having them drop at the end of a game, and you can get them from waiting an hour and getting them from the rotating shop over there where I spent all that money looking for heavy swords. So you can get them from that shop, but it only changes every hour. But right here, if you just come in here and click Unknown Defensive Curio, you can spend 250 of these to get a random curio. And this is how you roll for the best, highest percentage curios in the game. And they're pretty rare, so you'll end up spending a lot. To give you some perspective, when Hive Scum, the class I'm currently playing, came out, I rolled and got my perfect 17% curios here. So I have 17% max toughness all the way across. That took me 65,000 of those milk bucks. So yeah, that was a huge hit to my bank account, but I got it, and you don't have to do anything after you got it once. And those, of course, are by per character. So yeah, milk bucks are very good for forcing curios, but not really much else. So that's the breakdown, guys, of how to earn currency. Now let's quickly talk about how to spend your currency wisely. Some investment advice. If you are limited on currency, what I would recommend to you is, first and foremost, play with what the game gives you as you are leveling up your character, right? So as you're leveling your character, as you just saw a second ago, the game, when you're winning a mission, it's going to reward you with a new weapon, and you should probably just play with whatever that is, unless it's absolutely garbage. It'll be good enough because they level up with your power level and with the difficulty that you complete the game at. So you can just play with that and not spend any extra resources as you're leveling. When you're leveling your character, just kind of like let the game give you whatever. However, the first time you get a really good weapon with a nice base stats, and I might make a separate video on talking about that, but if you get a weapon that has a good set of rolls, let me find one here that's got a good setup. So yeah, here we go. Like if you come in here and you find a weapon that looks like this one here, where it's got high damage, high finesse, cleave targets, mobility, like, this, if this is the setup you want, 80, 80, 60, then you would buy this weapon, and then that could be your main weapon, and then you can just continue to upgrade it over time as needs see it fit. But don't, my advice would be, don't just flip-flop between a million different weapons. Don't be coming in here and buying a new weapon every single time the shop rotates, or every single time you get one extra level, because that will drain your bank account really quickly. Stockpile and stockpile and stockpile, because when you reach level 30, that is when you need to come back over to this shop, and that's when you want to start doing your rolling in here and trying to get the perfect rolls on whatever weapon you've become accustomed to, or whatever weapon the build guide is directing you towards. Because once you're level 30, and I'll put this in the video where I talk more about crafting, but once you're level 30, that's when you have the best odds for getting the stat layouts that look like what we just saw there. The best stat layouts for weapons have 4 of them being 80 and 1 of them being 60. So generally, don't be investing in anything that doesn't have the low stat in the worst possible thing, which is usually mobility, by the way. So yeah, don't try to roll for these weapons, and don't try to get perfect weapons until you are max level at level 30, because you'll have worse chances. And then just kind of invest in one weapon and one build until everything is kitted out and perfect, and then move on to another one. Yeah, don't like dabble all over the place and split your resources, because you'll be very broke doing that. And you can play and beat harder content when you have one more empowered weapons. And so hopefully I'll be doing some streams in the days to come, which will feature me leveling a brand new account with a brand new character, and you'll see how I'm efficient with resources. You can tune in there if you need more tips on that. I'm playing on YouTube. I'm also on Twitch at Mr. Etide, and yeah, I'm playing 6 to 7. Oh shit, said it again. 6-ish Eastern Standard Time, usually most days, and you can come find me over there and hopefully learn a little bit about how to play the game in a very new way. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully it was helpful. Mystery getting out of here. Bye-bye.